Hello, this is Tony Blazer, back with another race review from the Motocross Vault. This one's going to cover the fifth round of the 2020 AMA Monster Energy Supercross Series from Oakland. I know a lot of people kind of pick on Oakland for, I guess, the neighborhood. I've never been to Oakland myself, but I hear the neighborhood around it's not so great. The stadium's old and everything else, but typically Oakland delivers a lot of great racing. I absolutely loved last night's track. I think it was really racy. I love the big bowl berms. The jump combinations looked fun. It ended up having a lot of great racing. Seemed to lend itself to some tight action. A lot of places for people to kind of go in and trying to get underneath people, make a pass. I thought it was a great track. It was probably my favorite track of the year. Just thought it was an interesting layout. Typically, I like big whoop sections, but the lack of giant whoops didn't seem to hurt the racing. And in fact, it probably helped the racing in some cases because it let guys like Cooper Webb, who typically in the past, who have not done so well in the whoops, really excel. I thought last night was by far the best Cooper had looked all year. I think he got third in practice, which was way better than he'd been doing. And he was racing in the main, certainly. Overall, I'd say it was a great night of racing for sure. The racing started out excellent in the heat races. You had a lot of action in the 250s. I'd like to know what the hell Justin Cooper's doing, not being able to start that YZ. I guess I haven't had one of the new electric start YZs. Maybe you have to put it in neutral. I'm not sure how that all works. In my experience, if you just pull the clutch in, it should start. But even if Yamaha's different, you think he would know that. Although it's difficult in the heat of the moment, it's easy to get kind of confused. And then I saw him whacking the throttle when he's trying to start it like it's a two-stroke. And I guess probably on the fuel injection, it probably didn't matter. I just, had like flashbacks of my old YZ250F and YZ400F where if you whack the throttle, the thing would flood and you'd never get it started in those days. Lord knows what he would do if he had to deal with one of those early 2000s Yamahas where you had the starting drill and you had to go through this whole the whole thing to get the thing going. So as it was, he ended up going to the LCQ again, and definitely not what you want when you're holding the red plate. Got a factory ride and everything else. Overall, like I said, I think it was one of the most entertaining events of the year. The racing, like I said, was great in all the heats. Everything was exciting. It was just an exciting night. You had Justin Hill taking the win in Heat 2. Surprising, I guess, because you haven't really seen that kind of blazing speed out of Justin, although, he certainly has the ability to run at the front, as Tampa showed us a couple years ago, but, last year certainly he didn't show it, and this year he's been a lot better, though. I thought he would look real racy in the main as well. I think overall the series has been just better than I could have hoped. You have the top 5 guys only separated by 18 points, which is less than one moto or one main. It's unusual, I would say. Usually you have one guy kind of breaking away or two guys, and the fact that there's been so much kind of shuffling and I would say almost parity has led to the tighter points battle. I mean, we're not even at the halfway point. I would be shocked if it's still like this at the halfway, because it seems like, to me at least, it seems like Eli and Kenny have really been kind of stealing the show every week, trading wins now, but it looks like we could end up with a really exciting season. I mean, really, I'm amazed Barsha, considering how poorly he's ridden the last few weeks, is really still in third. That's pretty amazing. And the fact that you still have Anderson and Cooper's not out of it. Now, this time last year, I think he had won 2 main events, but he had a terrible race at round 5. That was the infamous Lime race when San Diego had all the mud and stuff. I think he got an 8th in that race. So he lost the points lead there to Eli, but he's still not out of this. I mean, he's, like I said, 17, 18 points out of the points lead, so all it takes is one DNF by one of the top guys, or if Cooper gets on a run here, maybe he could make a title fight of this. I hope that we see Webb making a push, and we end up having, a 3-guy fight for the front. My concern is, I hope that pass he put on Eli in the main didn't hurt his, I'm sorry, the pass he put on Kenny in the main at the end, which was an amazing, last lap there to kind of get underneath him and take second place. It seemed like it hurt Kenny's foot. I hope he's okay. If it broke something in there, that could be a major blow to the series if we lose Kenny, because it's been great. I mean, I think that Kenny's done even better than I hoped. I thought he was going to win, especially after the heat race. The first heat race, you had Eli and Blake Baggett and Kenny going at it just like hammer and tong there. It was great. Reminded me of the great days of the 80s with all that, banging in bars and stuff. It was super exciting. And I thought, okay, well, maybe Kenny's on it again. And then he was in the lead in the main. Thought maybe, he's going to take charge of the series here and make it a couple in a row. But Eli hung tough. They've been going back and forth, which is great for everybody. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Eli Tomac fan. I respect his ability. I'm definitely pulling for Kenny or Cooper to win this title over him. But if Eli finally gets it, it's fine. As long as it's a good race. As long as we have good racing at the front, I'm like I said, I'm always happy. I'm not really bummed. The only time I've ever been bummed is when a couple of years ago when Chad Reed was making a title fight of it and he ate crap, maybe at Arlington or what. Anyway. He going to the bars and jacking himself up, and I was emotionally invested in that. I've always been a huge Chad Reed fan since he first came over here, and that one had me going. And then I was like, it really deflated me. I almost didn't even want to watch the race the next week. But most of the time, I'm not that invested in it. I just want to see good racing. So if we can get Eli and Kenny doing this every week, I mean, shoot, that's a huge win. And then we get Cooper Webb in there a little bit. That would make me happy too. Cooper, he seemed to excel there towards the middle part and the end of the season last year. He might be able to get on a roll, and maybe this is a sign that he's going to get things going again. I don't know. My concern is he hasn't shown the ability to have those starts like he had last year. Last year, he was a great starter every week. And I think that was the key to him winning that title. He wasn't always the fastest guy. A lot of weeks, he was not even close to the fastest guy. He was like a 7th or 8th place in the practice times, kind of the exact opposite of what Adam Cianciarulo is doing. But when he was kind of gamer, he would come out, get a great start in the race, and then hold his track position, made smart passes, and won. Took that all the way to the title. He could do that again. I don't know. Next week, looks like the track has got more whoops than this week. Two longer sections. Certainly nothing really long. It's going to be more of a baseball-style stadium. But I'll be curious to see if Cooper is capable of, picking up his game and still being competitive there with the little tougher whoops. I think as we go east, he'll typically, he's an Eastern guy. He's from the East Coast. I think he'll be a little more competitive there than he is in the West Coast in general. So I'm hoping, like I said, that he ends up making this more of a title fight. Barsha, he had another mediocre night. Ended up blowing up his engine in the first race. That's certainly not his fault unless he was screaming it like normal and made it let go. But he came back, had a mid pack. I don't know what he got, 5th or 6th or something. And like I said, it's amazing to me he's held on to the 3rd place. That's kind of indicative of how crazy everything has been behind him. I don't know. I mean, I heard during the broadcast, Ralph Sheen was saying, Barsha expects to kind of take fire when we get back east, but to my recollection, it's always been early on in the season he's done well, and then as we've gone later in the season, it's kind of tailed off. So history would tell me that's probably not going to happen, but he's still in this. I mean, one bad race by the two guys. Let's say that something crazy happens and Kenny and Eli take each other out, and then Barsha's right back in it. He just needs to get a start. I mean, the fact that he keeps getting these crappy starts, it's kind of the same thing with Cooper Webb. Neither one of them, I think, have shown the speed to kind of just blitz through the pack. So they get a good start. They can ride smart, ride aggressive, probably stay up front. I don't think if he keeps getting these crappy starts, he's going to, do anything that really mix it up with the leaders, unfortunately. The 250 class has been very entertaining. As I said, it's been exciting. I was not surprised to hear some more boos for Ferrandis this week. Although I will say, I didn't think his pass in the main was dirty at all. It was just an aggressive pass. It wasn't even like a really aggressive pass. He just kind of had good position on Faulkner, and Faulkner went off the track, kind of his own volition there. I think that's mostly residual of what happened a couple of weeks ago where, clearly people are still sensitive to the Frenchmen taking people off the track, Americans in particular. If it was French on French crime, if Eric Sorby jumped out in there in the track and then Ferrandis hit him, I don't think you'd hear anything. But unfortunately, Faulkner is another U.S. rider, so I think the partisan crowd is not too psyched to see that. Faulkner, man, his podium interviews are pretty terrible. I gotta be honest. I was saying last night, I think it's more boring than watching them making the make up the mud sections. But anyway, the podium interviews are typically there's only a couple of guys that are really good at it, and he's not one. A couple of takeaways from the night. Chad Reed in the booth, man, I loved it. I thought he was great. I miss Jeff Emig. I do think that Emig is better than Ricky Carmichael in the booth. I do think that Carmichael's gotten better this year. I always think he was better with Lee Diffie. It's kind of funny. I kind of made some fun on Twitter at the first round with Lee Diffie, saying what the hell, there's foreigners are taking our series over or whatever. But I was just joking. Again, people give me heat on Twitter. I'm just joking on Twitter. Twitter is just for jokes. That's all I use it for. Make funnies, be entertaining. Follow me on Twitter if you want to get some wry commentary during the race. But I actually thought Lee Diffie did a great job. I'd be happy if he was doing it every week. And I think RC actually seemed to do better with him. RC seemed to do really well with Chad in there, too. Chad added a little element that was really good. I mean, I will say that not every rider is great in the booth, clearly. Chad kind of brought that that David Bailey knowledge a little bit more than you see for guys like Emig and Carmichael to have so much experience. It's kind of funny to me that they don't seem to bring it to the broadcast a lot. I mean, I didn't go as fast as either one of them, even on my absolute fastest day and their worst day, but it seems like even I understand some of the stuff going on in the track more than they bring out in the broadcast. And you heard a little bit of Chad talking about the feeling he got when you saw, I remember Chad you'd see him start jumping something that the guys behind him are jumping, that I don't know how in the hell he would know that the guy behind him is tripling this section behind him. Maybe he heard the bike or the crowd go crazy, and you saw that, Kenny and Adam picked up that they were tripling in that section. They started doing it. I mean, unless they got a pit board, how do they know that? And that was something that Chad was always good at. He'd realize, okay, RC or somebody is doing this section I'm not doing, and I've not done it all day. I got to bust it out, which takes just incredible cojones. I can't imagine. I'm terrified to jump something I've never jumped before, and then to do it in the main is pretty ballsy. And he brought that insight to the race that I think is missing a lot of time. Maybe RC. I mean, it's hard to not be yourself. I mean, you are who you are, and your talents are what they are. But Chad, I don't think he's got a car racing career to do. I don't think he's interested in doing this TV thing. But I would be all on board for Chad Reed to be in the booth. I thought he was just awesome. I think he added a lot to the race, and like I said, RC again. I don't want to be too hard on RC. I think he's done better. I really thought he was terrible last year. I made a lot of fun of him on Twitter, but he's definitely doing better this week. As to AC himself, he certainly looked fast again in practice. Again, the practice warrior seems to be doing great, and that can't seem to get it together in the mains. Early on, I thought he might get a podium, but then, a little bit of green-on-green crime there. Tomac made a really aggressive pass on him. I'll be curious to know if they were real happy with that after the main, but after that, he was in third, and then Cooper got him, and it seemed like he kind of fell apart a little bit. I got to be honest, I was really, really on board with AC after the first round. I mean, I think most people were like, holy crap, he is legit. He had won Monster Cup, and then he comes out and almost wins A1. He gets second behind Barsha. Hugely impressive ride. And I thought by now he probably would have got a win. And at that point, I had penciled him in for 2 or 3. I mean, I don't want to get like crazy and say, title, no McGrath thing, but I got to be honest, it's been disappointing since then. I don't think he's got another podium. He was getting 6th and 7th and whatever the hell else. Kind of what you would have expected. I guess realistically, it was kind of ridiculous for me to expect more. Probably AC has kind of shown who he is at this point. It might take him a year or two to get it sorted out. But I thought he had turned a corner last year in the outdoors. It just might take him a little while. I think he'll get it square. And again, somebody that fast is definitely going to be able to get it figured out at some point, I would think. I would predict that AC is going to be probably a main event winner this year. I would be surprised if he didn't, but it's starting to look more and more like I might be wrong on that. So overall, I think we had a great night of racing. We had the points chase tightening up in the 250 class. You had Ferrandis finally passing Cooper after a couple of mediocre races. Forkner's only 10 points out of the lead. I think Cooper might be 2 or 3 out back now. The way things are trending, though, I don't think anybody's catching Ferrandis. He was the title winner last year for good reason. He's probably been the fastest guy overall. Forkner's given him a run for his money at some of these events, but Forkner's been very inconsistent. So unless something strange happens, I think it's Ferrandis' title. 450s, like I said, are tighter than I could have hoped for. I'm hoping, let's pray that next week is as exciting. Everybody gets out of it healthy, and that Ken Roxon is back at 100%. That's probably my main takeaway for this event is, is he going to be back up to speed? Is he going to be hindered by this injury? And, he's ridden so well this year. I so wanted him to be, even if he doesn't win the title, just in it all the way to the end and not have this kind of tail off like he's shown in the past. And stuff like this is what's kind of sidelined him, whether these injuries or illnesses or stuff. So I'll have to keep my eye out for how things are going this week and see if he comes out with a statement on his foot. So hopefully he's okay. I'd love to know what y'all thought of this event. Like I said, it was a great race, probably my favorite one of the year. Super exciting, great track, great racing. Overall, Oakland, maybe a S-hole, but by God, it gives us good racing. So I hope they keep it on the schedule. In the meantime, let me know, like I said, in the comments section if you'd like to help the channel. The Motocross Vault merchandise is available in the link below in Teespring. In the little description area. If you give it a like and a share on social media, I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Definitely helps grow the channel when that happens. If you listen to this on Apple Podcasts, if you could rate the podcast, give it a rating, share it with your friends, I'd appreciate growing that as well. And until we meet again, this is Tony Blazer. Peace.